So there I was, playing the recently released Donkey Kong Bananza, having a grand old time with the destructible terrain. But as I kept breaking my way through obstacle after obstacle, a thought kept creeping into my mind. What if I just started destroying stuff and never stopped? Is there a limit to how much you can break? Could you theoretically destroy an entire stage? I'm sure I'm far from the only person that's wondered this while playing, so people are definitely gonna start trying it sooner or later, but I didn't feel like waiting. I wanted to know now. So partway through my casual playthrough, before I even beat the game, I decided to stop everything I was doing and go figure this out for myself. I had seen far from every roll at this point, but the second, or I guess third layer if you count the opening, seemed like a perfect place to try. This is known as the Hilltop layer. It's relatively flat compared to most other layers, there's no water that can block me from destroying terrain, and there's no ceiling anywhere that could potentially have any terrain on there that I wouldn't be able to reach, so it seems perfect. There is a gigantic banana bunch-shaped mountain near the back of the layer, but if I start from the top of it and work my way down, that shouldn't be a problem. Same with these way smaller banana-shaped landmasses, of which there are a few. So I got ready to destroy. I decided to livestream my attempt because I figured this would take a good couple of hours, and because I wanted some people to talk to, since I figured this would eventually get pretty boring on my own. Plus people in chat might come up with some good strategies to make this go by faster. I transformed into the Kong Bananza, which is entirely based around its immense strength, and I began smashing away. Starting of course with the top of that banana bunch mountain. And it didn't take very long for the first issue to pop up. The terrain in this game has the same kind of rules when it comes to gravity as Minecraft, by which I mean that it doesn't follow gravity. If you break something from underneath, the terrain above it just stays floating in midair. I knew this going in of course, but what I hadn't realized was just how annoying it would be getting rid of some of that floating terrain, especially the pieces floating far above the ground, since falling down from them would mean I'd have to climb back up, and constantly needing to do that would add a lot of wasted time. I could of course just rip off a chunk and throw it to break the floating terrain, but this also takes time that would quickly add up. I kept pressing on however, and after about 10 to 15 minutes give or take, I had destroyed the little arch at the top of the banana mountain, and got started on the part under it, which revealed a hard dark purple-ish material that you cannot destroy. This is called Neptunite, and it's everywhere inside the game stages, to avoid you from making stuff like golden bananas or shops permanently inaccessible. This is fine however, we also knew this going in, and we can just work around it, literally. It would just sometimes be kind of annoying doing so, especially at the bottom of floating pieces of Neptunite, but it's still very doable. After a good bit of destroying the mountain, I decided to tackle the area behind it a bit, and here we ran into our second and probably biggest issue, these goddamned spiky balls. These are being infinitely generated by these things that you can't break. You can clog them up by throwing a soft chunk at them, but they quickly break the chunk and then go right back to spitting out these balls. The reason this sucks so much is because trying to break terrain around them is an absolute nightmare. These spiky balls constantly interrupt swings, hurt you, and risk killing DK, losing a lot of time. Beyond that, if you keep going anyways, you'll eventually start making hills that the balls will roll across, or little holes that they'll collect into, making it way harder to get around them and destroy the surrounding terrain. And there are a lot of these balls, by the way. And this is not a small area, by the way. It's actually really tall. Like, really tall. So dealing with all this would legitimately take forever. Someone in my chat suggested that I try using the game's 2-player mode, where you can copy terrain types and use Pauline to shoot them out as projectiles that explode on contact. But this didn't really end up helping, because of course, the spiky balls just block the projectiles, meaning that eventually they would become useless, as there would be too many balls to be able to land a single shot on the terrain. Regardless of all those issues, I was of course still determined to do this. I continued destroying the main parts of the level, and occasionally I would go back to the spiky ball area to brainstorm more ways with chat to potentially take it down. But after a bit under 2.5 hours of this, I looked at the progress we had made in that time, and it really wasn't looking good. Because of all the issues we faced, I realized that I had seriously underestimated just how long it would take to destroy the entire level. We had made some good progress, but realistically speaking, it would just take too long to finish, not to mention we never came up with a good solution for the spiky balls. So in the end I made the tough decision to give up. I realized this just wasn't happening, and I settled for waiting for someone else to do this instead. Like I said in the opening, I attempted this before beating the main story, and something interesting happened when I continued the campaign on my own time. Fair spoiler warning, the rest of this video heavily relies on something cool that wasn't shown in any pre-release material. I don't think it's anything huge, and it's not story related, but if you wish to discover it for yourself, I suggest you stop watching the video here, and I thank you for watching thus far. There's your warning, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so, I eventually reached the Tempest layer, and after a bit in here I unlocked something incredible, namely the Elephant Bananza transformation. Like I said, this wasn't shown in any pre-release material, so I had no idea about its existence or what it would do. Turns out, its ability is being able to suck up terrain with its trunk and store those chunks for later as projectiles and such. It didn't take long for me to realize, however, just how ridiculously efficient this ability is at destroying terrain. I mean, just look at this, and that's without even really using the skill tree to power it up much. This thing is so good at destroying any kind of terrain that there are entire golden bananas built around digging them out with the elephant, and it's always so quick and easy. Here's a couple examples. That arch that took about 10 to 15 minutes to destroy previously, with the elephant, that's gone in less than 2 minutes. Those annoying floating pieces of terrain, now I can just suck them up from a distance. And most importantly, those obnoxious spiky balls. They're still a little annoying to deal with, but with the elephant, I can stay a safe distance away from them while sucking up all the terrain around them, with little to no worry of getting hit. The only downside to using the elephant is that the suction cone could sometimes leave super tiny floating specks that were really finicky to suck up. But almost as if this ability was made for this challenge, I could just summon chunks of terrain I sucked up earlier and throw them at those specks, destroying them anyways. Considering all this, I decided, screw it, I'm doing this. I'm destroying this entire sublevel using my trusty new elephant powers. So I got to work, and this time I would actually do some preparations beforehand, which I didn't really do last time. I bought and fully upgraded the Tempest code for Pauline, which would extend my Elephant Bananza time by 80%. Someone in chat also told me that you can reset your skill tree at any of the Kong Elders, so I did that and fully respec into the elephant to increase the suction area and how long I can keep sucking, as well as some other skills that would help, such as more than doubling the time Bananzas last as a whole. And finally, I equipped the Dig It handkerchief onto Donkey Kong, which would make it so I'd regain some Bananza meter while sucking in terrain. I wasn't able to fully upgrade it unfortunately, but something tells me that really won't be an issue with all the other preparations we had. So I tried again. The Hilltop layer would be mine to devour. I started again with the giant banana bunch mountain, and what I wasn't able to finish in that 2.5 hour stream with the Kong Bananza took only 20 minutes with the Elephant Bananza to completely flatten out. And that's including the giant stupid spiky ball area behind it. It going by so much faster gave me the confidence that yeah, this is doable, and in a reasonable amount of time as well. This big hilly area off to the side, just under 3 minutes to mostly flatten out. The Fractone Village area in the center, under 3 minutes to destroy as well. There are a couple caves in the Hilltop layer that do have ceilings with terrain on them, but none of them pose much of a challenge for the crazy reach of DK's upgraded elephant trunk. What I found really funny is that in one of the caves, there was a Fractone NPC that after clearing out the entire place, said to me, "Whoa, you must have been hungry." Which at first I thought was insane, like, oh my god, they really coded in this specific line if you eat the entire cave they're in with the Elephant Bananza? But then I realized that no, this Fractone normally has a challenge where you have to guide back 3 missing chunks of them, and doing so rewards you with 2 golden bananas, and eating them both is what makes them say that. Still a really funny coincidence though that made me do a quick double take. There were also a lot of fun things I saw and found out during this whole experience. For starters, that giant mountain that you normally spawn on when you reach this level has a gigantic Neptunite pillar within it for some reason, even though normally Neptunite buried within structures like that are detached from the ground and just float in the air. I also saw a mole that just flew off into the distance and then disappeared. And one of those chests that normally has a random chance of spawning around destroyed terrain spawned inside some Neptunite, which I only noticed because of the sonar ability, making it completely unreachable. Speaking of Neptunite, you may have realized already that the entire level has a floor at the very bottom made out of this stuff, giving you an idea of what the world would look like after destroying everything. My goal was to flatten out all the structures and mounds above the Neptunite floor, and once I finished that I would get on said floor and start working on the outer edge. While I was doing that, it would constantly leave tiny specks of terrain on the floor that were really finicky to suck up with the elephant trunk, but I was still able to get them all with some precise downwards punches. And once I was done with the very outside part of the edges, these specks stopped appearing entirely, so that was really convenient. Similarly, after doing that, I would completely dig out all the Neptunite structures such as the giant pillar, which also left a lot of specks on the walls, which were also easily dealt with some precise punches. Eventually, I realized that there's a sub-layer under this level and has a little cave area. It's really not that big, so I decided to clear out all the terrain in there too. But when I got there, I realized, oh, there's water here. Luckily, it's not a whole lot, and it's just shallow enough that some downwards punches with the Kong Bananza was able to reach all the underwater terrain. It took a while, but eventually I was able to clear out the whole hallway. So I continued further into the sub-level and... oh my god, come on. I discovered that there's a way bigger basin of water further in the cave. And worst of all, this is way deeper, and has terrain at the bottom that I have absolutely no way of reaching at all. So, unfortunately, there is some bits of terrain in this level that's just not reachable, sadly. So we can't destroy quite everything. I wish I realized this sooner, but luckily this is, like I said, in a sub-layer of the Hilltop layer. The main part of the level has no water whatsoever, so that's still all completely destroyable. I made sure to clean out as much of this sub-layer as I could, and then I left it as it is. Farewell, bits of underwater terrain. I hate you. May you drown or something. As I was nearing the end, I wanted to be as thorough as possible, so I decided to go around the entire level and find any last pieces of stragglers floating around to destroy them, which there luckily wasn't a whole lot of. I also noticed a piece of terrain on a ceiling that I had somehow missed, which I was luckily still able to reach by building a pillar up to it with the elephant's goated ability to store and summon chunks. After all that, I finished up the last bit of the level that I had left to suck up, and then I was done. I did it. I had cleared out the entirety of the Hilltop layer, leaving behind a gigantic floor made up of indestructible Neptunite. In the area where the village used to be, were now just a couple small pillars with shopkeepers on them, and since I cleared out literally every piece of terrain on the sub-level, I naturally collected every fossil there was, which I used to buy the last cosmetic item here, and equipped my well-earned royal purple fur. Weirdly though, opening the closet to change my equipment also respawned a tiny bit of terrain in the center of the level, which I thought was strange, but then I realized it's because there's some terrain there that respawns if you hand slap the ground. Don't worry though, I cleared all of that up. Exploring this empty world truly felt surreal, like I wandered into a place I was never supposed to find, or I was in some kinda Donkey Kong version of the backrooms, especially thanks to the incredibly calm music of this area. There were also some floating Neptune blocks high up in the sky with pop-in that made me feel like I was playing Sonic Frontiers. I also thought all the NPCs just standing around this desolate area pretending nothing had happened were really funny. Like this guy that told me to grab some earth and start surfing on it. Like, yeah bro, what earth? Oh wait, I got it, thanks man. In the end, this whole mission took me just a bit over 4 hours in total, but take it with a grain of salt as I stopped a lot to write down notes and such for this video. If you're curious about some more statistics, when I started this, I was at 35,922 gold, and when I finished, I was at 140,777 gold, meaning I collected a total of 104,855 gold from all this. That's more than I had when I beat the game. And keep in mind I ignored a crap ton of gold in the process, so realistically this would give you way more than that. I personally wouldn't recommend anyone doing this though. As interesting as it is to explore the end result and how much money you get from it, I don't think it's worth just how long it takes. I mainly just wanted to do this to see if it was possible, and yeah, it is. Every level in the game has a ton of unbreakable material at the bottom forming a floor like this by the way. It's not always Neptunite, but it is always indestructible. As I was working on this video, I saw an article online of someone that did this with the first sub-level of the Lagoon layer, just because they felt like it. They did this the first time they got to it, meaning they didn't have the Elephant Bananza yet, and it took them a total of 4 days to do so. I'm assuming it wasn't in one sitting, but it should still give you a pretty good idea of just how much time using the Elephant Bananza saves over doing it any other way. Anyways, at the end, after all that sucking, I knew there was only one thing left to do. Namely, resetting the terrain. Yeah, okay, that felt wrong. But we all know it needed to be done. After all, I want to continue playing this game. It is very good. Thank you guys for watching this stupid video. Big shoutouts to new members Zelda Fan 643, Quote is Cool, Giant Firing Cole, LurFX1, CPJ, The Flying Fire, Alex Kingsley, Lime the Chef, Daniel, Sheen for the Win, Sil700, Goomba Odyssey, Rayuto MSF, Exobear, and the rest of my Patreon members. This is a very experimental video that I wanted to make as kind of a quicker, smaller project. So if y'all enjoyed it, be sure to let me know, and I might do more like it in the future. Also, if you want to see the full uncut stream of my first failed attempt, it's uploaded on my second channel, and I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you so much again for watching, everyone, and please have a great rest of your day. Oh yeah, and a quick message to the person that spoiled me on the big plot twist of this game in the first minute of my livestream. Go fuck yourself, man.